Hello folks, welcome to another Whiskered Woodcarver. Let me pull the sound down a little bit here. I don't want it too loud, so make sure you can still hear it. But hey, I'm Jeff C, and I haven't done this show in a while, so I'm excited to actually bring up and do some wood carving for you. I've got a new little, pretty simple carving that Doug Linker, my dad showed me this, and it was really fun. And I tell you, it's one of those things that a lot of people see, and they almost like it better than some of the stuff that it took me longer is more impressed with. So I'm excited to share that with you guys today. But if you want to follow along and see like the knives and the resources and all that kind of stuff that I'm using, you can go to jeffc.live. That'll take you right to my Amazon storefront, and you can see all the things that I'm using to carve in my carousel below. You can also purchase, which would be great as well. But yeah, so let's go ahead and let me show you first of all what we're going to be carving today, because they're just really cool. You guys, I tell you, more people have talked about these. They're these mini books. Now, Doug Linker is the one I want to give credit to, because he is an incredible YouTube channel. But they're these little books that are just really, let me see if I can get them in focus here. There. And you just paint them, but they're really simple to carve, but people love them. These are ones my dad actually gave to my wife. She's a teacher. She had them stacked up really cool. And we're in a little string, and they're just fun little things to carve. Let me go to my overhead camera here, and I'll show you a little bit better. So yeah, they're just really cool. You can't really mess them up. They're just really fun, and you can do whatever you want to. Doug Linker, actually, one of the things he said was to put a magnet on there, and you could put it on your refrigerator, stick it on there like that. I'll probably do one like, put a Holy Bible on there and give it to somebody like that. Or you can I thought about doing like the Lion and the Witch in the Wardrobe and having a magnet. You could put it on there for like Harry Potter or something like that. But anyway, I just thought these are so cool. They're really easy to do. They're easy to knock out in an evening. And if you're just getting started, I used to say, hey, start with carving this penguin. This is a great way to start. But now I'm telling people, you know what? Start with books. And these are just basswood carving, basswood wood that we're using to carve on, and these are actually just like little scrap pieces of wood. In fact, here's the one we'll be doing today. This is just a scrap of a basswood. One of the things you want to do is make sure that you have the grain running this way, and I'll show you in a little bit why that's important when you're actually you're going along and starting to cut. It just makes it a little bit easier to do all that stuff on there. So, oh, thanks, Katie says, such cool books. Thanks, Katie. Yeah, they're so fun. It's so funny. I mean, people like them better than some of my bigger carvings, which is cool. But anyway, we're gonna carve some of those. But they're like, you just carve different little sizes of basswood, and these are just, like I said, scrap wood. Basswood's easy to carve if you're just getting started. It's a hard wood, but it's soft enough that it easily is carved. A lot of carvers use it. In fact, that's what I've used to carve all these different things you see here. But yeah, so let's get started, and then you can just paint them any way you want. Like, you can have thin little ones, and like Dad painted little edges there. I mean, you can do whatever you want to on there. One of the things that I'm thinking about doing is getting one of those laser etchers, and then I could have like really like book titles on there, like I said, like Harry Potter or Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, and give them to people who I know love those books. And like when my friends on social media, when they actually publish book, wouldn't it be cool to have like their own like title in there and give this one up to them? They could put it on their fridge or whatever. Anyway, just fun, easy things to do. Here's the ones that I have carved actually that don't have any paint on them. So you can see they're just pretty simple. You can do as ornate or rough. I kind of have like that rough look, so I'll knock the edges off with some sandpaper and that kind of stuff. But yeah, they're just really fun. So it's actually basswood. Katie is asking, is it basswood or balsa wood? Balsa wood's a lot lighter. This is a little bit more denser. I think balsa wood might be a little harder to carve. So I can knock these. Katie's asking how long did it take me to, let me take this off right here. How long did it take me to carve this? And you can knock a bunch of these books out in an evening once you get going. So they don't take long at all, and they're just really, really fun to do. So anyway, make sure you guys, if you want to figure out what we're actually using, what we're doing, go to jeffc.live. That takes you once again to my Amazon storefront. But let me show you you could just knock these out. This is just a blank piece of wood. I'm going to use this thicker one just so you can see what it is. And then I just take and kind of make where I'm going to make the edge of the book at. And so I'll just put it right here and kind of just draw down. It doesn't have to be perfect, right, like that. I kind of like to have a thicker edge. So I'm just going down here. Like I said, once again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Kind of go across here. This. And that's just kind of a guide, so I know where everything is. And I'm using the edge of my finger to kind of, it's not perfect, but you get the idea. Get the edges here, and just make a really quick stencil. You'll see right here is where the edge of the book is. I'll do that on the other side, like sometimes I've forgotten. Right here. And once again, you're just roughing it out, giving yourself a reference. Just like this. Very cool. So it's pretty much ready to go. One of the things is, and I use multiple different tools that I'll use here. These flex cut knives work really, really well for this kind of stuff, but I also use their flex cuts little gouges. These are their little hand gouges that I use, especially when I'm making the pages, and I'll show you that in a bit. But no, Katie, I don't sell these on my website. I thought about it. One of these, I've done a lot of penguins. In fact, Kim Garst bought like one time my entire inventory to give out for Christmas presents. So I usually give them away. Once in a while I'll sell them. But maybe, Katie, I should have a contest or something and give these away for that. But yeah, then it'd be a job, wouldn't it, if I sold it? But anyway, and you can be as creative as you want on the edges here. And you can see my dad actually did this one, and he's actually, after he painted it, he went and knocked it down so it has that rough little look to it. And here's what they look like when you haven't painted them. Some people like them just plain, but I'll probably end up painting these. This one right here, like you can see, is a little rougher. You can kind of see some of the detail there, but really fun to knock out. So let's go ahead and do that. And one of the things I always do, I always have, because I do have a nice little scar here on my hand, I always use, some of those carvers you'll see on YouTube, they do not use protection, but I do, because I've cut my hand and had 9 stitches before. So, and I always sharpen my knives at the beginning. They're pretty sharp. I usually sharpen them when I end, but this is the flex cut. Well, this is a little Beavercraft strop here, and I'm just gonna strop this knife just a little bit to make sure it's all fine and good.
And that green stuff there is a rubbing compound. It kind of looks like a crayon. This is a yellow one, and they all have kind of different sharpness. Yeah, I just do a couple. I know it's sharp, but I'm just going to do a couple little passes before I get carving here. Just like this. Very cool. And then you'll just make your first little cuts. And on these, I usually start at the top. And one of the things is you can, on this kind of the spine here, you can round the spine or you can make it straight across. There's no really wrong way to do this. So I'm probably going to start with a straight across, and I'm just going to kind of do a little cut on the inside. You don't want to push too hard. Remember your fingers there. The glove will protect a little bit, but not 100%. So usually start kind of light, and then I go back in and do it. Top here. And if you screw up, you like take a little bit too much off, not a big deal, because it's an old book, and old books get beat up. So I'm just going to take it right here. Kind of hard to show on the camera, and I'll just make a little cut here to start taking that edge away, just like this. And this is what I like about this knife here from FlexCut. It's the Pelican knife. It's kind of shaped like a pelican's beak. Let's see if it'll focus a little bit. There it goes. Like that, and compared to like something like this, which is their detail knife, and this is a bigger knife that you can get in their set that they sell. But I like this little one because it's a little bit of flex to it, and it's easy to kind of carve some of this stuff out. So just go in like this, start cleaning this out. So I usually like to get my the edge of the book cover. It's kind of the deep I want. Do that all the way around. And then I'll go in and I'll put the actual pages of the book in. So I'm just gonna kind of carve around there. You see how I'm just kind of carving around the edges of that first cut that I did. And continue to just kind of take some wood out. But yeah, this is a nice simple one to sit in front of the fire, or in the summer outside, just chilling out. You can sit out there. You don't really need a pattern for it. Like, you don't have to cut it out with a bandsaw once you get these scrap pieces of wood there. It's just pretty easy to take out side and just sit there. You can do all of it with one knife. I just think it's a little bit easier when I use some of these hand tools to get the wood out. But you could easily sit there and just carve everything. See this tool maybe a little bit better. Flexing a little bit. Just like this. One of the things, some of this edge grain gets really, really hard. The end grain does, and so what you can do is I have this. It's half rubbing alcohol, half water, and what this does, when you spray it, the alcohol lets it penetrate the wood a little bit more, and it helps on those end grains to soften it up. So I'm just kind of spraying it. I'll let it soak for a little bit. Put some on the table there. That'll help that I cut up. So Katie says, "Oh, beautiful knives. Thank you. They are really. FlexCut makes really good knives. This is a special glove. This is a cut-proof glove. So what it does is, this is like what people who install windshields, or even fishmongers who throw fish, and doing a lot of fish butchering use. It'll protect against slicing. It doesn't really protect against gouging, because it can go through there and still get hurt. But for slices, this works really well. The only higher one you can get is actually a chainmail glove that will protect, really, really well. But the problem with that is, because I use my thumb so much and I rub up against my glove. In fact, I have to replace the gloves like every 2 or 3 months, because if I use that chainmail glove, I'll dull my knives really fast. And so this is why I like to use this cloth glove. So anyway, you kind of see this is cutting out a little bit better here. This knife.
the tools that I really like to get some of this wood out quickly is, this is a big V tool right here. I really like this because I can lay it on the side and really scoop some of this this wood out quickly, especially when it's really, really hard like this, because this wood's pretty dull. And I know I'm cutting towards me, but I'm very carefully and it's very controlled when I'm doing that. So I'm just going to use this to kind of scoop it out, just like that. Over to the inside as well. See, I'm starting to make a little bit more of a dent in there, and I'll kind of use it to clean up the edges as well. Just like that. I'll usually do this first one to the depth that I first like, to where I want the pages to be and how thick I want the book, and then I'll have everything match that. Edge grain is really hard right now. And with that, just continue to carve it out. Yeah, make sure if you're, one of the things that people like, how do I get started? What's the best way to start? I'm a little nervous using wood and knives. I actually started, I think it was in Cub Scouts, and we carved soap with these little wooden utensils. And so soap carving is a great way to get started with some of the fundamentals of carving, some of the cuts. It's great for like kids to use because you don't have that danger of the sharp knives. So you see I'm starting to clean it out a little bit there. And the fun thing about carving is you're never in a rush. Like, that's what the fun part is. Is just chilling out. Yeah, so Katie, yeah, there is some really cool stuff with soap. It's really, really cool. And you can get really, really intricate with it as well. And then you can use it and it's pretty, and you can put it in the bathroom. And so I think the first thing I learned to carve in soap was a turtle. I think it was in the Cub Scout manual. Maybe other people know better, but yeah, soap was a great way to start. But then, I know it's scary to give your kids knives, but I grew up with knives ever since I was a kid. So if you teach them and they're responsible, and there will be cuts, but they're not going to cut a limb off probably. Kind of cutting this down. Katie, can you hear my music? I didn't know if it was too loud or not loud enough, or trying some new stuff. This live stream today. You can always go back and clean some of this stuff up later. Most of the time, you're trying to make really clean cuts, which I am not doing right now. It's kind of splitting on me. Like I said, it's an old book, so mistakes aren't bad. See, that kind of splintered a little bit, but that is okay. And if you go too thin on one part, just make it a thinner book. Okay, thanks Katie, for letting me know. This is a lot softer on my end, so make sure it's not too loud or too soft. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and also use, especially the smaller books, and I really wish I had a palm tool. These here are palm tools because they fit in your palm and you can push with them. I wish I could, I need to get some, these are some longer gouges, so I'd really like to get some more some palm tools, but these will work in a pinch until I get some other ones. You can easily spend your salary. And I'm not worried about being too flat where and that's why I don't mind using the smaller gouge. It's because I kind of like the look of it when I start cutting the pages in. I like that uneven texture, so it will reflects that when I start using to kind of carve in the little bitty pages. So you can see, like here on my dad's, where he's carved those. They're a little. You don't worry about making them super even, and then we'll use a little V tool inside of there to cut out the pages. So that's why I don't mind having it kind of uneven here while I'm getting the depth, especially since this wood is really, really hard. And each piece of basswood you'll find is different. Sometimes it'll split weird, or it'll it'll splinter, and that's why using this solution, every once in a while, just kind of dampen it, kind of get it to soak in the wood, will help some of the, having to push so hard. Just remember to take your time, no rush. But I like it because it's something relaxing. I can move it away from the screen. Of course, I'm doing it in front of the screen now, but use this now. Kind of rounded that one down, but so let you see what I'm doing a little bit better. It's hard to hold it up like this. So I'm just taking this flat edge and sliding it kind of right here, trying to cut out a little bit more of a groove. This is you don't have to have one of these. You can do it all with your knife. It's just for this. Bit faster. And I want to make my book look really weathered, so I'm going to be knocking off the edges and everything, so I think that's going to be great. Alright, let's start on the other side, and once again I'm going to make cuts all the way down it, trying to match up the width of the top. This is going to go in easier because you're going with the grain, so this one's really easy to split to. Now see, I even went to shallow on this one, but this Pelican's knife's a little bit thinner, and so it kind of goes in the direction of it. So I made that one cut. I'm going to make it like a little V down the side there, like that. Yeah, aren't these are very fun. Thanks, Johnny, for saying that. Yeah, this is straight out of Doug Linkler. I think he did it about 11 or 12 months ago, and then my dad showed me them, and then I'm like, okay, cool. And then everybody, they love these little mini books. So, but it's a fun little easy project for people to do when they first get started, I think. See how that just comes right off from that one cut, and then a little V cut, and then you kind of really easily see how your book cover is going to look with the pages. So pretty cool. This one I cut a little bit. So Johnny, do you do a lot of carving as well, or are you just stopping by? Thank you for watching over on YouTube, by the way. Appreciate that. But this would be something, you could even do this really, really easy. You could take a bar of soap if your kids are wanting to learn how to carve and you just don't feel comfortable letting them use a knife. A hard bar of soap. I don't even know what a hard bar. Everybody uses bath gel anymore, so you'd have to. I think we used Dove when I was in Cub Scouts, and let them do a book or two. Just slice it up and let them practice. First thing, it'll be a bunch of soap chips. See how much easier this is than the end grain
cutting right out like this. So just cutting this down really easy. Probably do a session showing how to paint these. They're pretty easy to paint. The only problem is like, what do you hold when you're painting it? So usually do one side, let it sit for a while, and go do the other ones. Oh, Katie, I did not know you played the fiddle. That is very, very cool. Yeah. So, fun fact. I play since junior high. I've been playing the 5-string banjo. So I used to play with some really cool fiddlers. So I'm sure, yeah, you dig this. Once again, I'm just using this beat tool to slide down. I also have some other flex cut tools that I really like to use. It's kind of a flat. It's a flat little gouge. Yeah, it's kind of it's a hand tool, which I like, especially for these doing the smaller books. It's really kind of, if I can show you, it's hard to see. It's a little flat. But that's really good for getting in there and getting the, some of the, curling up some of that wood around the edges, like that. Kind of, if you need to take some wood off. But yeah, I really like flex cuts. Especially their palm tools, I really like. They have micro and mini tools. I think there's 2 different sets, and I have both of them because I just think they're really, really handy for especially this kind of stuff. So trying to get it the same depth as the tops. That. A couple more. Slices out there. See how it just takes it out really, really nicely. Pretty cool. Edges here. It's hard holding it up because I'm usually down like this, and I'm trying to hold it up for you guys to see it. So I need to lower my camera, but then it'd be in front of my face. So we're getting there. So let's go ahead and do the cuts. So again, this is the end grain, so it's going to be a little bit sprayed it. This basswood ingrain is really tight. It likes to make these little feathers, which aren't great. So there's like that. And this little project is pretty cool to test out different cuts, getting comfortable with the knife, glove, wood. If you mess up, not a big deal. You're not cutting the nose off of a hillbilly you're carving or something like that. Get the feel for the wood. There are some books on Amazon on soap carving for kids that I found. I have it in my carousel at jeffc.live there. If anybody's interested in getting some of those, I put them in the. I think I have a list called woodworking, and it's got some of those resources in it. It's actually got some of the pattern that I use to do these Christmas bears and stuff like that. There's patterns that I used are on Amazon. You can tell I like carving Christmas.
might wear a glove right there. Get in a hurry. Sometimes these little ones are easier to push on the end grain to just kind of get some of that wood out quickly, and then you can go back and smooth it. Especially if it's really tough. Happy little cuts, like Bob Ross in the streets. Now I'm kind of rushing some of this just so you guys can see. I want to get it pretty much done today, but make sure you're taking your time if you're doing this. There's no rush on getting this done. Outside or with your family at a picnic or camping, that's what's fun. One of my favorite things is to sit around with my dad back porch, his house, and nice weather, not too hot. Sit out there and just carve something simple. My penguins or books. So you can see, there we go. So it's getting there. So once I get the style you want, kind of do some cleanup here. The depth you want. What you can do before you paint them is what I do is I take a dental brush and try to get all these feathers out. That's what I call them. I think they're just little pieces of wood in there that your knife hasn't cut all the way through, or it just kind of split a little bit. I like to try to knock all those out so when I paint, it just looks a lot better. Depth and kind of getting ready to start the pages. One of the things that I neglect a lot is getting sure that all these towards the end, towards the spine, sometimes it's not, you didn't go far enough down, or you didn't cut deep enough, and so go back and clean that spine up before you start. You can play with these as much as you want. You can keep going. Say, oh, that's good enough. I want to do a set one at a time. Right like that. There we go. Pretty good. Pretty rough. That's what we're going for. A little bit deeper on this one part here. Like I said, I like to have a little unevenness when I'm getting ready to put the pages on it. I just think it looks better. And I'll show you. I mean, one of the things, so you can do a lot with just a really good knife. But one of the things, I would say the first tool that you would get would be a V tool, because you can do so much stuff with a little V tool, like hair, beards, fringes on a Santa's coat, all that kind of stuff. So it's uneven. It's not perfectly smooth, but it doesn't really look like pages yet either. So one of the things I really like to use, and this is, I look to make sure, is there's a U tool, like a little mini gouge, and then there's a V tool, and this is. So here's a V tool. This is a bigger one. Right here, it's got just all. It's what it sounds like. It's a big V, and then I have a really small little V tool, and I love this. This is their micro tool, and so what this is really great for is doing those pages. And you don't want to go straight up and straight up and a page and a page. You want them to kind of overlap themselves. So I just go and start making little. See how it's curling up that just a little bit at a time, a little bit of wood, and it's putting that texture that you want. In fact, you can actually use two different types of V tools and have a different one, a thicker, bigger one like I have, and then go and add the smaller one on top of it. Just whatever you want to do, and it makes these little slivers all the way to the end. And trim them. You can see it's starting to make that book texture, and I don't like to go all the way. No, I have little bits of it. Kind of see what it's doing there. See that? Making those little bitty pages. That's what I think is cool. And just, really rough. There, that looks good. And because what happens is all those little grooves will take paint, and then you put like an antiquing cloth on it. Oh, I think my music stopped. Let me start again. And have some really cool oh, there we go. Very cool different looks to it when you start putting those paints on. And Dad has done some where it's like, here's like a gray one. See, he's kind of roughed it in, and then he's got some almost like yellowish, like old paper there, and then some whitish ones that look really cool. So yeah, it's just kind of whatever. I like the mix and match look. I don't, I want to look like an old library wizards books or something like that. All right, so that one looks pretty good right there. So I'm going to do the same thing here on the top. Once again, be careful with this. This is a really good way to go through your glove, because this top grain is really, really hard. So sometimes you have to really work at it to get that groove in there. So just be careful. Take little bits at a time. And don't push it too hard. Just like this. Just like that. It's got little this grain on the end's a little wonky, so you may have to go a couple times and maybe a different direction to get these. They almost look like little bump cuts when you're on this end grain. You might have to go back and kind of redo it. I have to look. I'm getting old. I have to look. So there you can kind of see a little bit of it. One of the things with the V-cuts is use this little, this comes with these micro tools, is to sharpen them. It has a special little
there's a little tool, slip strop, to actually sharpen the inside of it. Also, you can go around the side and kind of buff it, because these are really kind of hard to sharpen. So I have to take some time. All right, let's do this one right here. That looks a little better. Just like that. Same thing here. See how that looks there? That's what I'm going for. How the overlapping little books is going to take the paint really well. Look at that. That's going. So, a couple more. There you go. Kind of clean that up. Now, so this book could be done, right? You got the pages, you got the cover. It doesn't have much character to it. So this is what I like to do for the books is I like to actually see where there's like a spine kind of a thing there. So I'll take another gouge or whatever, and you can actually okay, where do I want it to be? Make sure you do it on the right side. I kind of want to be right here, kind of where it's going to be. Just kind of making a mark. Kind of want to do it here. Kind of where that page would fold on the spine, but just a little past this right here, the spine of the book, the back of the book, just kind of like that. And then I'll take my little tool here, and you can use different. It just depends on what kind of character you want to do it. You could do it with a thin little tool. You could put it like almost a V tool or a little gouge. I'm going to just kind of do a little wide little gouge here, like that. Do it on this other side too. Go as deep as you want, working it back and forth. That doesn't have to be perfect. It's not like mine's not a straight line, but it gives that little added, oh, it's a book kind of look to it. So I kind of like doing that on books. You don't have to. In some of them, like the thinner books, you don't have to have this wide of a gouge. So really rough, just kind of, that's cool. That looks nice. Like on this little thin book, like Dad did earlier. See how thin that is? He just used like a little mini gouge to put the spine on, which makes it look really cool too. So, and sometimes, here's another one. He did a really small one, and it's got almost like a little kind of bends down to it and stops. So, same way with this one, it's whatever you want to do for your book. It's your book. You can do whatever you want to it. So I like my thicker one for this one because it's a thick book, because I like the way that looks. But I still don't like it's too like a wood block. I want it to have some character. So I'm going to take my knife here and just I'm going to start rounding some of these sharp edges, just like that. Like, oh, that probably fell at one time and dented a little bit. Yeah, that's what I like. Okay, it's got some character. It's weathered. It's been in somebody's backpack. It's been carried around on a dragon. I don't know, whatever you want. But yeah, just kind of have it some character. Knock off those edges. Give it some dings and dents. Those cool books that you'd find in libraries, something like that. Kind of round it up a little. And you can do more or less, however you want. Whatever kind of book you're thinking it was or is. So see, the spine's kind of getting weathered looking. Looks more. So you can do it right there on that edge and knock that corner off like that. Maybe it even chips a little bit. Put it on the inside too. Right?
careful because some of these, like with the grain, when you're going with the grain, you can get way more than you actually wanted to get. So just be aware of that. If it starts to split on you, you can go the other way. That one kind of got me off guard right there, so I'm just gonna split it up a little bit. Side a little bit. Knock this here. Shake that off. See how that's starting to look like a book, right? And also, top it. I go for all angles. This one I didn't do much on. See? That's what Doug Linker said on his, is like, yeah, it's your book, do whatever you want with it. And I like to, what do I want to do from the spine? Okay, I kind of like to have maybe across there, and maybe, this will be a big one. There's a big title here, and have it like that. So I'm going to use a little, my other from that set, because I'm just going to put a little cut like this on both sides. This. And I'm going to kind of go into it. I can make a little, round it in there like that a little bit. Same thing on this side here. Take it in, and it looks like making a notch, but then you kind of round it out. That'd be a good place for title. Those older books, like almost a law book, maybe. Something that's in a dusty old library. So, and then, so like, because this was just straight like cut, like it was just cut. And so when it's like this, it's not going to take paint well. So I'm always trying to, this is kind of hard. This is where you can kind of almost take too much out. You just want to kind of take that first layer off. You can kind of see the shine is changing there, because that just a cut. It's gonna look weird with paint on it. And so I like to try to get all that kind of luster, I guess, off. So it'll take paint, and it also makes it look more weathered. So I'm always trying to do that. Take the unfinished part, like every piece, every angle needs to have like where your knife has touched it, so it will take paint and look even. Same here. Just gonna be very careful. I like to use a bigger knife for this because it's easier to control. At least for me, it is. Not in a rush. Fix some mistakes, add some more character. Smooth it out. And if you take too much off, like you bit too much down when you were trying to take some of this luster off, just stop and go the other direction. Right there, I did it. Another reason why I wear a glove, I'm not so nervous cutting towards myself. Okay, so that back is pretty much, you can see it's got like every angle the knife is touched. So that's what I want to do, so that paint will stick good on this book. You can, rough that down, take that down a little bit, that gouge you put in for the spine. Like that. Continue to take some of that off. See how that split like that? That stuff drives you nuts, but just, take a breath and go the other direction. Just smooth it out. Like that. Because that will happen. Go ahead and round this down a little bit more. Just take a little bits at a time. Don't try to get too much. And some of these guys, like,
I feel like I'm out of practice, but I watch some of those YouTubers and they're so good. Their knife cuts are so smooth and precise, and there's hardly ever any splits. But that's because they've been carving forever and ever and ever. So don't put that on yourself when you're first starting. Just like, oh, I gotta remember not to do that next time. And once again, that's why I like these books. They're very, very forgiving. All that luster off there. Once again, I use that dental brush when I'm ready to start painting. Get all these like fuzzies off. So there. I didn't do this side. Let's do that real quick. Take that down a little bit. See what I did there? I forgot I was using a big knife, and I went up and I made a little slit right there. Once again, just stop and go the other direction and kind of trim that out. Or you could even go back and mistakes are gonna happen. And I remember, I think I was working on a snowman like this, and I slipped and I snipped his nose off, which is really frustrating when you're carving a snowman with, you know, you need the carrot of the nose is kind of important. But I was able to, you know, I was able to fix it with putting a little toothpick in, putting it that way. So, you know, you're gonna make mistakes. Shoot yourself for them. Just adapt. See, once again, I took too much off. You kind of see how it's where I haven't touched it and where I have touched it with a knife. That will look so different. That'll look bad when you paint it and haven't taken that off. So that's why it's important to kind of smooth that off. You can also sandpaper. I'm going to show you how I use sandpaper. That was when you have way too much. Oh, here it is. So instead of doing, if you want to have it not so using the knife, if you're struggling with it, you can use some of this. This is a 320 sandpaper. You can actually just go and take it off with this. Some of that stuff of the luster that I talked about. See, it's kind of, it even gives it a cool look too. Oop. So that's another thing you can do, and it also, when you're painting, you can go in and do the same thing to knock off some paint. Look at that. It's hard to see on here, but you can see there's a little bit of contour in there. Oh, sorry, Eva. Thanks for joining in. She goes, I lost you. It was cutting out and you disappeared. You see me now? Looks like my internet's fine. So anyway, just do a little bit of sanding there, and you don't have to go through with your knife, but this will help also take some of those rough spots. You can kind of see how, doing an angle, that roughness from my knife. Just going over it with this really fine sandpaper is another way to do it, and also you can rough it up a little bit. That's why I'm shaking the camera. Just like that. A little bit on that back. So yeah. So there you go. Look how that looks, so cool, right? I mean, it's just a fun little easy project to do. Not too hard. If you make mistakes,
that's just, you just tell people it's character. Like, look, see, I kind of went too far here and made a little chip. Oh, that would happen on a book. That's fine. A little divot there. Hey, you know what? That happens on books. So, great little starting project to do. I love these things. There's so much to sit and just finish in an evening. You can have multiple different types of endings. Here's one. Eva, these are the colored ones Dad did. And so, and like, this is a cool one too. You see he rounded. You can round your book spine instead of having it kind of square like mine is. You can have thin ones. You can actually, like here, I'm throwing stuff around. Well, that one had like a front to the cover of the book. Find that. There it is. Yeah, so I wanted to show this one. This is like one of your English ones that you could just make a little thing at the top and have it like one of your like English books and have a little thing on the side that you can paint. Once again, it's a really small one. But yeah, so there's, you have really thick, fat books, you know, I mean, and with nothing on the back. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can do with these. They're just super fun to do with your scrap pieces of wood, and people love these. Like, give them a stack of these books, put a magnet on one, and put it on there. It's just very, very cool, very, very fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed it today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to start doing more of these. Maybe next time we'll show you how we paint these and do some different carvings, but try to do some of these more. But and then you can go back and, like, you know, as I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, I should do this or do that, maybe round that up a little bit more. But just super simple. I think I did this in under an hour, and that was with me talking and trying to show you everything. So really easy to do. Do a book and then share it with me. Show me what you've done. Get a knife, test it out, ask me questions, but let me know how your book or your carving is going. And if you're really intimidated with knives, get a bar of soap and just start playing. You know, slice it off with a kitchen knife or something, and then try doing some books with like a wooden knife. You can get these wooden, there, I think I have them in my carousel if you go to jeffc.live, and you can actually find wooden or even carving or even sculpting tools that you could use instead of a knife if that intimidates you. But you can do so many cool things. Just think you'd have soap, little book soaps. But hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you for watching. My name is Jeff C. We'll see you guys next time. Appreciate you watching The Whiskered Woodcarver. Bye, everybody.